This morning's guest went from 100 chickens to building 4 homes a week, and now he's building a dream. Who is he? You'll meet him coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're in People's Underwriters in Carolina Forest. We're focused on the L.W. Paul, Horry County Living Farm Museum. And we're visiting with L.W. Paul, Larry Paul himself. Good morning, Larry. Do you mind if I call you Larry?
Please do.
L.W., of course, is something we see all over. And, of course, it was L.W. Paul, both your construction company and on the real estate side.
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
That's something you've been going by for have you ever gone by L.W. or has it always been Larry?
Few people call me LW, but it's Larry Wayne, so my company was L.W. Paul, and so the museum will take that name.
Absolutely. Very exciting. And the museum's going to be out on
701 North toward Loris. It's actually on the Harris Shortcut Road and 701. A lot of frontage on 701. Of course, it'll be fenced, and it's just prior to getting to the J. Reuben Long Prison.
Oh, great. So
on 701 North.
Know exactly where
out
to
of
go.
Conway.
It's about 5 miles outside of Conway.
Not even that far, yes.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What prompted the opportunity to open up the L.W. Paul Horry County Living Farm Museum? What was
Well, Greg, I grew up very, very poor on a one-horse Horry County dirt farm. I grew up in the Pauley Swamp section of Horry County near Bucksport, actually between Pauley Swamp and Bucksport. We lived in little tenant frame houses and actually bought our farm that was an old family farm when I was 4, a little small one-horse farm, and of course developed it over the years by hand clearing into a 2-horse farm. That is to say, we had 1 mule, and then as we got enough land cleared, we eventually had to get 2 mules. But we had 1 mule and 1 milk cow and chickens and pigs, and we lived close to land, very, very poor. But it was a wonderful environment to learn and to learn to work. My dad taught 3 simple things: work hard, be honest, and be a good neighbor. And I tried to live those traits, and the good Lord blessed me, and as I progressed, now I'd like to give back, and I'd like for the people to know that lifestyle in perpetuity, so that we're going to rebuild on this site on 701 a one-horse farm similar to the one I was born on, and have 1 milk cow,
1 milk cow,
1 mule, some pigs and chickens, and make butter and make grits and make sugarcane syrup and make lye soap and make all the things that we lived on. In fact, this farm will date even a little bit before I grew up into a little earlier period in the 1900s.
I saw that, 1900 to 1955.
Yeah, a little earlier. So the complex will have the tenant house, just like they lived in, the outhouse, the smokehouse, the pack house with the stables, the tobacco barn, we'll grow some tobacco, and all the activities, your wash pot, the place to scald the pigs, everything you would have had in a one-horse farm. In addition to that, on the same grounds, we will have a large building that will house classrooms so that we can have students from schools to come out and learn about their culture and their ancestors and where they come from. And we'll have a snack bar and gift shop where they can buy jellies and things that we grew on the farm.
A visitor center.
Yeah, visitor center. And of course, offices and bathrooms and that sort of thing.
This will be a pretty sizable facility,
Yes,
Larry.
and on that same grounds, on another area, we'll have, to the right of the farm, we'll have the grits mill running, the old blacksmith working. We make sugar cane. We'll have different projects along. And then most every weekend we hope to have special activities like making the syrup, making quilts, or making lye soap, something that will be very interesting. And we are hopeful that this will draw millions of people.
Wow, Larry.
We're hopeful that we'll be on like the Gray Line tours for Myrtle Beach, because this will be a very, very good destination, a learning destination that we think will be of keen interest to old and young alike.
That's very exciting. Well, probably something that, now, is this something they've been thinking about or something you'd been thinking about? Or the folks at the Horry County Museum been contemplating this?
What happened was I have collected those old implements, tools, implements, tractors, harnesses, buggies, wagons that came from the periods we're talking about at my home in Socastee.
Is that right?
Together with lots of American Indian artifacts.
Right.
So I decided that I am at a point that I thought I should share those with mankind. So I called the museum and told them I had some artifacts I would like to donate to the new museum, because there's going to be a big museum there on Main Street where the old Borough School was.
Right. So
they came and looked, and it seemed that I had more artifacts than they did. So, and I told them I would give them all my artifacts, the Indian, everything they wanted, the old guns. So
good for you.
They came back and said, wait a minute, have you thought about it? And they came up with the L.W. Paul Living Museum and asked me did I have an interest in that. So I agreed then to commit the money,
some funds to help
to build it.
Absolutely.
And that's how it got started.
The county
all of the county officials thus far have been wonderful. They've donated a wonderful piece of land that's going to make this even more successful.
Right.
The entire county, the chairman, all of the people, Danny and I, all of the people have been very, very kind and receptive, and it looks like it's going to be a very, very successful project.
Praise the Lord, Larry. Well, that is wonderful. If a viewer needs to get off to work now or get family off to school and they want to learn more about the Living Farm Museum, about the Horry County Museum in general, or even to talk about volunteering or donating more dollars to help underwrite this cost, is the 915-5320 phone number the best number to call?
That is the best number, yes.
Okay, great. And who would they want to ask for? Is there anyone in particular?
Well, the curator is Walter Hill, and Walter is a young man from the Plantersville area. He's, in fact, my father worked for his grandfather in Georgetown, so the Hills go back along. He does a wonderful job, and he will be glad to assist you. We have applications for volunteerism, so that we can have. We're hopeful to get a lot of volunteers, starting now and right on through when it's. If we could get people now that are interested in construction phases of it, or have any ability in carpentry or dirt work or farming, please come to the museum and apply, so that we can get you approved as a volunteer. And once we get you approved, when we have activities, we can just call you and you're free to come and work. There's a couple of little forms we have to take care of so that we have you approved ahead of time. Right. So once we have you approved, if we need you, we can just call you, and you're free to come and work and help with the project.
I love it. Larry, earlier this morning you also mentioned another name of someone who's going to be intimately involved in the L.W. Paul Living Farm Museum. Wayne Skipper, I believe.
Wayne had a little living farm near Nichols, and he had it open maybe for a day or two a year, just as a kind of a festive thing, and it was successful. Sure. It's a smaller project than we're doing, so I went and talked to Wayne, and we was able to contract with Wayne, and Wayne is an outstanding young man. He's a hard worker, and he's doing us a wonderful job, and we have him on retainer with the museum to build this project, and I am hopeful that he will end up being overseeing this right on. I'm hoping he'll be our permanent person out there. But anyway, Wayne is a good guy, and you can get a hold of Wayne if somebody wants to talk to him through the museum.
Sure.
Wayne will be one of the main straw balls on the job doing the work.
Listen up, yeah.
So
okay.
Wayne Skipper's the two contact people would be Wayne Skipper,
right?
Of course.
Walter Hill out there, 843-915-5320. In addition, they got a great looking website, HorryCountyMuseum.org. There's not yet a lot of links there about the Living Farm Museum because this is really something y'all have gotten rolling in the near term.
We just started.
Right.
Wayne has just got the smokehouse completed. We've got the pole skint for the chicken coop.
Right.
So in the next 30 days, we'll be going great guns out there.
How exciting!
So yes, it's very, very exciting.
Growing up there on the on this very
modest
location, with brothers and sisters helping out, or was it just your folks and you?
I was down in the list. My oldest sibling was a sister. She, of course, was hardworking. The next oldest, Bill and Walter, are two older brothers, and of course they were in it deep. They worked real, real hard. Betty got married when I was a child. Bill was always there and always worked hard. Bill was one of the hardest working men I ever met, and Bill was my older brother, yes. And Walter was too, but Walter left when I was like 14 or 15 and went to the military. But
so there were four of y'all, four children.
There was six total.
Oh, six.
Then there was two younger,
right? Okay.
Sam and Esther.
Right.
They maybe didn't have it quite as tough as the rest of us.
Y'all had expanded to a second mule by that point, yeah.
Yes.
How fascinating. Do you have vivid memories of this, Larry? Is this something
absolutely?
That
I remember. Yes, of course. I remember holding the plow to plow the box when I had to hold it like this because I was too short, just a kid. And at 6 years old, I was driving the mule with the crates of tobacco. And
at age 6.
At age 6, yes.
And we hear about, of course, you're a father yourself. You tell stories about your own children later in life, and they sound so almost comical as a parent. I've got a 5-year-old, and I try to imagine my 5-year-old daughter doing things. But you have memories back to age 4. I mean, you've got vivid memories. Sure. It sounds like.
Sure. We moved from one tenant house into the house we bought was like a 1.5 mile journey on a dirt road. And we moved when I just turned 4. And my oldest sister walked and led the milk cow down those roads to move to the new home. And my job was to drive the calf and keep the calf in tow behind her mama on that journey. And I was 4. So we always had things to do. We had, and my job was to feed the mule. My mule was named Sue, and my job was to feed the mule. And so we, all of us had chores, and we worked. We all worked very hard. We did the field work. We cleared land. We dug up and picked up stumps and roots and cleared more land. And we started out with just, 6 acres of land. And when I left home, we had like 50 acres cleared.
Is that
most of it by hand?
Wow.
So it was, and then it started going back the other way. Now, part of that, it was cleared back in pine trees. Makes you wonder,
I bet it does. I'm sure you have both, and when you obviously the Pawley Swamp section. You said that's near Bucksport. For viewers in the PD or southeastern North Carolina, Horry, such a large county geographically. Is that a
Pawley Swamp lays on the southwestern part of Horry County. And then just to the south of that is Bucksport.
Okay.
Pauley Swamp is not far from Marion County, but Marion County swings all the way around Horry County on that side, so that there's probably 6 or 7 miles between Pauley Swamp and Bucksport as the crow flies. And we live between them on a little place called the Gilbert Road, which is a little closer Pauley than Bucksport, but in between the two, because I went to school at a 3-room wooden schoolhouse at Pauley Swamp.
Is that right?
And so, and that was maybe the drive, the road would be about probably 4 or 5 miles.
And when your parents were growing up, were they in a position where they could be active? I mean, for instance, schools at that time. How, you know, we had a guest earlier this week who highlighted that growing up in a community where if the bus got there before their parents grabbed them to get them out in the field, if the bus got there, they'd get on the bus. If their or he tells some stories about
we did not have that problem. Of course, we had to catch the bus like at 7 because it had to make a long rural area to get to the school by 8.
Of course, yeah.
And then we got home at 4, and of course we didn't have any food. We had a big breakfast, and we got our next food when we got home. But when you got home at 4, you went in the house and ate whatever mother had ready, and right out the back door into the field till dark. So, oh yes, it was a work. We started out walking about a mile to catch the bus, and then the bus came down to Gilbert Road to pick us up. To start with, it picked us up on the PD highway. It was a PD dirt road then.
Right.
But then it started coming down that Gilbert Road so that we didn't have to walk so far.
How amazing, Larry. And I guess this is, there were a lot of your contemporaries today. There are a heck of a lot of folks that lived in a very similar environment.
Well, I thought at that time that we were the poorest of all. But as I got older and looked around and realized there was a lot of people in Horry County wearing basically the same shoes we were wearing. Yes.
Later in life, as you, I guess you remained in Horry County. What was it?
Yes, I remained in Horry County, and I went to work right out of high school the next day at Conway Metal, and then 4 or 5 years later started building houses, and then built probably 1,000 houses before I went to college the first day.
Oh, come on. 1,000 homes?
I built several thousand altogether, but I mean, I probably built 1,000 before I went to Coastal the first day. I did the Tech College a little bit and did some classes at Coastal.
Right.
But that was after I was in the building business. And
well, now building houses, I mean, that sounds like these big developers, the D.R. Hortons or the Syntec folks that are building lots at a time. How were you able, I mean, you must have...
I had 1 year after I started building, I had 66 houses under construction at the same time.
Oh, Lord, Larry. Are there 65 other Larry Pauls that I don't know about?
Not that I know of.
That aren't sitting here today? How were you able to maintain something like, I mean...
We built, when I started building in the late 60s, a kid, but it just so happened that we had so many people in Horry County in good positions that were people of integrity. The bankers, the FHA people, the lenders, the building suppliers, the city officials, made it a lot easier than it is today. Bob Winfield was the administrator of Conway. And Bob was, of course, in charge of all the infrastructure for Conway. And Bob, if Bob said, if you'll build a street through so-and-so and so-and-so, I'll put the sewer. Well, that's all I needed. Bob was a man of integrity and still is. And he knew I'd do what I said. We didn't write contracts. We didn't put up deposits. We did what we said. Tubby Hendricks was the building official. He was a man of integrity. He knew I would do what I said, and I knew he would do what he said, so that made it easier. George Bishop ran Walkamaw Clay Products. He was good to me. George gave me 90-day credit to pay for the brick I used out of his plant, or wherever he sold them for.
Right.
He represented several factories. Mr. Craig Wall Sr. on Waccamaw Supply, he was a good friend. He was, anything he said he would do. He and I did business together. We bought land together. We did things together. And Mr. Wall Sr., I'd just rather have his handshake or his word than anybody's contract in most of the things today.
Larry.
And that's the way it was with Mr. Wall. That's the way it was with Luke Benson and Willis Duncan at Conway National Bank. I borrowed money from, and I had enough, and just a few years in business, I had enough saved, canceled, paid notes and mortgages to wallpaper my office that Conway National had loaned me money. So we grew, and I came in at a time that there was a shortage of houses. FHA came in so that we could build houses for the masses under lower income levels, and then people's savings, the different ones had good money, conventional money.
Right.
So I was at a good time.
So a lot of these were farmhouses. These are
Farmers Home Administration. That was
Farmers Home
modest,
okay. Right.
modest income housing. Modest income housing. And we were building, trying to complete and move in a family every single day. We tried to move in one family in a new L.W. Pole home every day. And we would average, not 5 a week, which would have been one, but we would average year in and year out 4 a day because of rain and other things.
Wow, Larry. I'm sure you have vivid memories. So you had a tremendous crew, obviously, working with you. A lot of folks. But what was it about, I mean, coming out of that, how was it that you did that versus someone down the street? I mean, what
I don't
was
know.
it?
The good Lord just blessed me. That's all I
Yeah,
can say.
yeah. You remember,
Maybe I tried harder. I don't know.
Can you think back of anything, an early business foray, something that kind of got the ball rolling? Can you think
Well,
back?
I had a serious thing to happen to me. I developed leukemia when I was like 15, and I had 6 months to live for the next 10 years, actually more than that. And I knew I didn't have long. And maybe I tried harder. But I found out I was going to live. When my daughter, 30 years ago, I found out I was going to live. They said, you know, you're probably cured. So I did all that. But I was healthy other than I would get lumps in my groin and in my neck and under my arms and go get chemo and go get radiation, you know.
Is that right? You're
off the
30,
job.
40 years ago, yeah.
Yes. And then when my daughter was a baby, they sent me to Charleston because I almost died. And they gave me heavier radiation and cured me.
Entirely.
Haven't had a recurrence since.
Yeah. That's right. Good. Well, congratulations. Yes,
Thank
I'm
you.
sure that's something that.
Thank you.
But without that drive, I mean, clearly getting the cure, finding that didn't slow you down. Without that drive of I've got another 6 months to live.
Well, you know, I came from humble beginnings. You know, I knew on that farm we were going to do better. I knew I was going to work. I knew I was going to do better than that. I had to. I mean, you know.
As you think about, and of course, having 5 brothers and sisters, did any of them get in the business with you, or follow in, or did any of them stay in farming, for instance?
My oldest brother got in business with me. In fact, he was a partner on everything he worked on. My other brother, Walter, got into real estate business with me one time. All of them have worked for me pretty much at one time or another. But I pretty soon found out that there was more money to be made in the land than the buildings. Even back then when I was building houses, you know, if you averaged $1,000 on the house year in and year out profit, you did well. But sometimes you can make $2,000 or $3,000 on the land.
Right.
So I was more involved with the land than probably money-wise than anything.
That's fascinating. And of course, with a county this large, when you think about a county with more than 1,200 square miles, I mean, you're dealing with a gigantic county, to...
Sure. Well, most of the houses were built in Horry County. We covered from Whiteville to Tabor City and around Georgetown, So we had a bigger circle than Horry County, but primarily Horry County, yes.
Right. That's tremendous. Well, we want to hear more about that and obviously about the L.W. Paul Horry County Living Farm Museum. I'm sorry to say we've run out of time, but I hope, will you be willing to come back and be with us a little bit tomorrow morning?
I will be glad to do that, yes.
Okay, great. Larry, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Larry Paul of the L.W. Paul Horry County Living Farm Museum. Coming up next. You heard him talk about Bill, Walter, Betty, Sam, and Esther. Of course, they shared a last name with their brother Larry. The excitement was sitting here hearing him talk about George Bishop and Tubby Hendricks and Bob Winfield and folks who really made a significant impact on his life going forward, setting the stage for him to continue to grow his business. We heard him talk about Craig Wall Sr. There's also a Craig Wall Jr. and a lot of folks that have made a difference in his life. But right now it's setting the stage for a lot of growth out at the L.W. Paul, Horry County Living Farm Museum. There's a lot more to L.W. Paul. Come back tomorrow, spend a little time with us here on Carolina People, or if you can't be with us, take the time to pick up the phone and call the Horry County Museum, 843-915-5320, 843-915-5320, or go online to horrycountymuseum.org. Larry Paul, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Yes, sir.